Use a hard-charging second, followed by Booksmart, Warren's World, and New York Dreams. They're in the gate, and they're off. Starship Defiant gets the first call. Delta Wind hustled very hard along the inside. Le Deuxième Etoile with natural speed is up in between rivals, followed by Roman Empress, and Glorious Spring is at the back of the field early on. Rounding the first turn, and Delta Wind, intent on getting to the front, shares the lead with La Deuxième Etoile, who's still a tiny bit quicker, and these two have pulled four clear of Starship Defiant in third. Then Roman Empress and Glorious Spring. They're heading to the 5/8 pole. La Deuxième Etoile by a head. Delta Wind keeping pace. Delta Wind back in front, coming to the half-mile pole. Again, she has been aggressively handled and now puts nearly a length on La Deuxième Etoile, who just sits comfortably and patiently in second. Two more to Starship Defiant, inching closer, with Roman Empress down at the rail and Glorious Spring. They take closer order into the far turn. Delta Wind, La Deuxième Etoile within a neck once again, and Starship Defiant a length and a half off the leader in third. Then Roman Empress and Glorious Spring, 4 lengths front to back. They're coming to the quarter pole. Delta Wind trying to fend off La Deuxième Etoile and Starship Defiant. Here's Glorious Spring putting in a nice and dangerous 4-wide bid at the top of the stretch. Glorious Spring, Starship Defiant, these two go on. Starship Defiant, Glorious Spring on the outside, takes command, and it's Glorious Spring, a hunch play of the day, cruising to victory. That's 3 for Juan Hernandez. Glorious Spring on a beautiful day by 2.5. Starship Defiant, La Deuxième Etoile, and Delta Wind. Birth of Cool just slightly restless, calming down. All in. And they're off. Very awkward hop out of the gate for Frost Alert. Edwin Maldonado did a phenomenal job to stay aboard. Rosenquist is sprinting clear in the early stages, opens up a couple of lengths. Never seen before, a joint second. On the far outside, American Refugee sprinting into contention, and Birth of Cool between those two. Then it's Arrest, followed by Crypto Money down at the rails, 6 lengths off the leader. Brother Reed, and Frost Alert is at the back of the field. They swing on to the backstretch behind Rosenquist, who leads the way by about a half length. American Refugee keeping him honest in second. 2 more to Birth of Cool third. Joined on the outside by Arrest, who tugs his way forward. And down at the rail, Never Seen Before, a close fifth, 3 lengths off the lead. A gap of 5 to the next flight. Frost Alert, Crypto Money, and Brother Reed. They're moving into the far turn behind Rosenquist. American Refugee traveling kindly alongside second. Never Seen Before, a willing third. Arrest on the outside, Birth of Cool between them. Frost Alert, 4 lengths off the pace. Another 3 back to Brother Reed on the outside of Crypto Money. They're a quarter of a mile from home. Rosenquist and American Refugee. Rosenquist trying to dig in, has it by a length to American Refugee in second. Never Seen Before is down at the rail. Now getting out of traffic. Birth of Cool is starting to finish nicely. A 16th to go. Rosenquist keeps going. A length and a half lead. Looking for the wire. Birth of Cool. It's Rosenquist. Coast to coast at a huge number. Birth of Cool was second. Then it's a photo between Never Seen Before and American Refugee. It's close for fifth as well. Mademoiselle to the outside. They're in the gate. And they're off. Liberal Lady is quick out of the gate. Any Who has speed. These two hook up right out of the gate with Classy Mademoiselle away in third. Then Lily Poo in fourth, followed by Coffee in Bed, fifth, and 3 lengths off the lead. And Get the Money, who ducked in at the start, is the trailer. It's Liberal Lady past the 5/8 pole, showing the way by 3/4 of a length to Any Who in second. At the rail, Coffee in Bed inches a little bit closer alongside Lily Poo. And outside of that pair, it's Classy Mademoiselle, a gap of 5 still to Get the Money. Around the far turn, Liberal Lady remains the target, leads the way by just under a length. Now Any Who makes her move to challenge. These two just heads apart. A length and a half. Coffee in Bed is down at the rail as they come to the quarter pole. And Lily Poo is next. Any Who takes the lead at the top of the stretch and is traveling strongly. Takes command and opens up two. Coffee in Bed will try to chase her down. Liberal Lady is down at the rail. Coffee in Bed lengthening stride, coming after Any Who. Any Who a length and a half. Coffee in Bed chasing gamely. Any Who is a tough customer, however, and it's Any Who strong in victory. Scores by 2. Coffee in Bed second. Get the Money got up for third. Buy American to the outside. They're in the gate. And they're off. Tiergarten broke beautifully. Here comes Turquoise Bikini now to take the lead. On the inside, California Bling comes away third, passed now by American. Losing the rider was Amage. Number 10, Amage, lost the rider shortly after the start. So they move into the first turn, and it is Turquoise Bikini just in front, Tiergarten a length back. Then it's Buy American on the outside, and California Bling at the rail. Precocious Time settles nicely in fifth, 5 lengths off the leaders. Then One Arrow inside Tis My Princess. Another 2 back to Disruptive Artist on the inside of Cheekiest. And at the back of the field is Vulin. They're coming toward the half-mile pole. And it is Turquoise Bikini in front by a length. Tiergarten in second, Buy American, a 3-wide third. Down at the rail, California Bling, Precocious Times is eager and in hand, nowhere to go. In some traffic right now, but certainly has run at this stage, 3 lengths off the leaders. Followed by One Arrow on the inside of Tis My Princess, then Cheekiest, Vulin, and another 3 to Disruptive Artist. They're approaching the quarter pole, and Tiergarten cruises to the front. Will be tackled by Precocious Times, the 2 favorites squaring off. Turquoise Bikini is down at the rail. They're a furlong from the finish, and Tiergarten leads it by 2. Precocious Times clearly into second from the back of the field. One Arrow, Cheekiest looking for minor awards, but Tiergarten loaded and much the best, powering home to win it by 3. Precocious Times second, Cheekiest third, One Arrow, and California Bling completes the super high 5.
If you watch the seminars on a semi-regular basis, you'll notice that oftentimes we show the workouts courtesy of xbtv.com. And of course, a lot of people have to wake up early in order for that to happen. And if you watch the seminars on a semi-regular basis as well, you also know that I talk about the people behind the scenes, the people that you never see on camera who do all the hard work. There's a reason why most racetracks don't show morning workouts. It's labor intensive, it's time intensive, and it's also cost intensive as well. But we believe that the horse players want to see the workouts because it'll make them more informed and therefore bet more at the windows. And you know what? Our special guest today kind of marries both of those ideas together. She works for xbtv.com. She's also the coordinator for the morning workouts. Her name, Teresa Delligatta. Teresa, happy Friday. Welcome to the seminar.
Happy Friday. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. It's been a long time where I wanted to have you on the seminar. And of course, today is the lucky day. Before we talk about your job responsibilities, let's kind of circle back to where your love for horses first came into play. Why are you so much into horse racing?
I started riding 100 jumpers at a very young age.
Very cool.
And those 100 jumpers happened to be off-the-track thoroughbreds, which makes some of the best 100 jumpers. In about 1993, my mom said, why don't we go to one of those Barrett auctions and see if we can pick up some horses and flip them?
You'd never been to a racetrack up to that point?
I had been to a racetrack. In the 90s, I had been to the racetrack. My grandfather was he had also owned some racehorses himself. I never got the chance to go with him, but I always wanted to go and share part of where I could feel more connected with him here at Santa Anita.
Sure.
So we went to the Barrett sales, and I wanted to understand, like, why is one horse $1,000 and the other horse $800,000? So we ended up getting, I think, 5 horses at that time, and then flipping them and doing that many consecutive years.
Were you pinhooking them to become thoroughbreds, or were you making them into jumpers?
I was pinhooking them just to become 100 jumpers, or at least to start them to give them a better life, because they're already now going to have some good foundation over fences, and then go ahead and make a little bit of money at the same time.
Sure.
And then it was just really, just found it so intriguing. I've always watched the Kentucky Derby and the big races like everyone else. But I just really found the breeding and the understanding of why certain horses cost a certain amount and why other ones cost a different one. And that's when I really started getting and researching into the breeding, and actually dabbled in the breeding as well. Now,
fast forward, that was in the early 90s. When did you start working at the racetrack?
I started working at the racetrack, so we're at 2023 now. I would say about 2013.
10-year anniversary?
Yeah, about 10 years.
And how'd you find the job, and what was your first job?
I actually found the job. Found the job is another network had an opportunity to be on as their first-time guest on Twitter. So I did that, and then I ended up working for that network for 4 or 5 years. And at the same time, I ended up buying a horse from the Barrett sale of my own to race. I put that horse with Doug O'Neill, and it ended up being good. It got claimed the first time out, which ended up being a good thing because I picked it out myself. And then from there, at the same time I was working, I was also being part of different syndicates and partnerships.
Fair enough. Now, what about your current job at xbtv.com? I talk about how you're kind of the morning coordinator for the workouts. Is that a fair description? And maybe what does your job entail, if that is in fact a fair description?
Yeah, that's a fair description, or assistant producer. What we really aim to do is first and foremost usually comes the stakes. Right now we're on the Derby trail, focusing on the Derby horses.
So those are your priorities. In other words, when you wake up in the morning, you try and figure out whether or not any stakes horses, particularly Kentucky Derby horses, are going to work out that morning.
Yeah, I usually have that plan the night before, because like last weekend, I think we had 4 or 5 at 7:45.
All
so
at the same time.
All at the same time. And I only had one camera when it called in sick. So we needed to have a plan. I do luckily know how to shoot the camera. I learned, because you never know what happens. So I'd like to come up with a plan. I like to go over that with my boss as well, because sometimes we have, if Fort Bragg, for instance, is going to go to the Florida Derby, he's going to be high on that list for the next one to shoot, because that's his next race that he's going toward too. So we really go with, right now we're on the Kentucky Derby trail. Otherwise, we're going to be shooting towards Santa Anita Derby Day, the stakes races. And after the stakes races, we like to focus on maiden special weights.
Right. So you prioritize basically the workers and try and focus on those that are high on the priority list. But you also pick up some other runners as well, inevitably, particularly if they work in a team. It might be a claimer working with a stakes runner, but you still pick up that claimer's work.
Yeah,
Fair
definitely.
enough. Fair enough. Now, what type of, you've obviously got a keen eye for workouts. You watch hundreds of thousands throughout the course of your career. Do you know when a horse works well? Can you immediately stamp it and say, wow, that horse really took my breath away?
Yeah, I usually
What
do.
is it? What is it that you see that maybe we don't see as horse players?
A lot of times it's who they're working with. If I see an unraced horse working with a stakes horse, in fact, it happened last week. I don't know if I can mention names.
Of course you can.
I think it was Mingaza, outworked Royal Ship last week. Those are something, and I think that one won the first time start. That's
Yes.
another one I would really want to give a high, like markdown, things like that.
That was the race that was scratched down to 2 runners.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know that horse was worth every bit of 1 to 9, even though that's the price because it was a 2-horse field.
Well, it was actually last week. This last time it worked. So after that race,
I see.
it outworked
Royal
multiple
Ship.
graded stakes winner.
Mhm.
So I look for things like that. I also look for, sometimes these horses, we have a time, but you never know how they do it. So I want to see if that horse is being nicely held in hand, if it's going really handily, if it has, mild urging. I'm looking for all those sort of things. How the gallop out does, how they're blowing coming back. Those are all things I'm looking for when I'm looking for a workout.
Teresa starts working before most of us even wake up. We're going to find out about the fruits of her labor because she's chosen 3 workouts on today's card. Hopefully those runners will run well. We'll find out what those workers are. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early changes on today's 8-race card here at the Great Race Place.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. The track is fast, the turf is good. Here are the early changes. The rail on the turf is at 30 feet today. In the first, start of the 50-cent early pick 5, no high 5 wagering with the scratch at number 7, Crew Dragon. Please be advised the first race distance has been changed to 5 1/2 furlongs on the turf. In the second, number 2, Vinny the Coin, 2 pounds over. Race 3 starts the Rainbow 6. It was announced this morning that the Rainbow 6 will have a mandatory payout this coming Saturday, a week from tomorrow. Run Happy Santa Anita Derby Day, a week from tomorrow. We'll have a mandatory payout, but in the meantime, there's $288,000 in today's jackpot carryover. In race 4, started the late pick 5, scratch number 1, side by side. The 5th race, no changes. 6th race distance changed to 5 1/2 furlongs on turf. Scratch number 8, Hembry. In the 7th, beginning of the golden hour pick 4, scratch number 5, Tis a Macho Girl. And in the 8th, start of the golden hour double, scratch 5, Loyal to a Fault. Post time for the first in 58 minutes at 1 p.m. Enjoy your day at the Great Race Place. Remember, those 1st and 6th races will be run at 5 1/2 furlongs on the turf course. Let's go back to Quigley's Corner to resume the seminar. His special guest today is Teresa Delligatta.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with Teresa Delligatta. She is the assistant producer and also the workout coordinator for all the works you see absolutely free of charge on demand at xbtv.com. Teresa, let's talk about that website for a minute, because that's basically a labor of love for you. It's so easy to use for those who might not have seen it. You just go to xbtv.com. You put in the search box, just like on Google, a horse's name. It'll pop up basically on a drop-down menu. You click on it, and then not only is it maybe some of the more recent workouts, but it's basically a whole library or a catalog of the horse's workouts that you have in the library. That's got to be real rewarding and satisfying to you. I don't know if you really appreciate how much horse players like it, but for you, you've got to understand that the work you do is really, really fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
It's truly tremendous, and it's like I said, a labor of love. You gave some love to the one cameraman that helped you out the one day when somebody called in sick. But since they're behind the scenes, maybe what are the names of some of the people that you work with in the morning to try and help you put these works together?
Our main cameraman is Alex, who also works here to shoot the races. Rudy is on the weekends, and he also shoots here to shoot the races. And then a big shout out to our editors. That's a lot of editing to do. Talk to us about that, if you would. In other words, you just want to kind of narrow down the actual work as opposed to all the fluff before and after? Yeah. So what I try to do is actually write every single horse's class, because if we're shooting 60 works and they maybe can only put up so many a day, that rest will up the next day. I like to, really know who's working, who's actually going to be running soon, things like that. But Leslie Abbott and Lisa Beatty do a great job on the editing, because that's a big part of these workouts, is getting them edited and getting them up. It's a long process. I know I have a lot of trainers texting me at 1 o'clock saying, when is my work up? When is my work up? But I want them to know this is a very detailed process, as well as getting all of the IDs right and everything else. It's a lot of work. And of course, it doesn't go unnoticed by those of us who handicap the horses on a daily basis, because we rely on all the workout information at xbtv.com. And of course, Teresa is the focal point and the main person behind all of that. All right, Teresa, enough about morning workouts. We got to make some money. So we want to start handicapping. And we'll kick things off in race number 1. And as you heard track announcer Frank Miramati say, the distance for both races 1 and 6 have been changed to 5.5 furlongs on the turf course. We remain on the turf course, but race 1 now, the adjusted distance is 5.5 furlongs. The rails are at 30 feet. Race 1 begins the popular 50-cent early pick 5. There is one scratch. Scratch the 7 leaves us with a field of 6. Number 3, Law Abiding, was the original 2-to-1 morning line favorite, but the one horse, Teresa, Cherubic Factor, is the current betting choice at 6-5 on the tote board. You've done the work. You've been looking at it for the last 24 to 48 hours. Give us your thoughts on race 1. So for race 1, Cherubic Factor actually was my top pick. However, cutting back in distance, I do not think is in his favor. Okay. So that's why I went ahead and went to Law Abiding. I don't think, as you can see, he made a late run in quite a late run in his last start. And I know that Peter Erden isn't really a fan of cutting back in the distance. I think he needs that 6 furlongs. Fair enough. A couple of thoughts on some of the selections you spoke about. And we also can see, Teresa, before I add my own 2 thoughts, that you like number 4, Stormy Samurai, for second. What was it about Stormy Samurai that you liked? I thought Pipey, this is going to be the second time for him trying the turf since, Pipey claimed him. He's been up at Golden Gate, so he's been on the synthetic. So I thought he had a look, because Pipey's not one that just shoots darts and throws them in different places, runs all over the place. But again, I know that Pipey's not absolutely thrilled with the cutback in distance. He would have liked it to stay at the original distance. But I thought I wanted to play somewhat of a price with him. 13-1 currently on Teresa's second choice, number 4, Stormy Samurai. A couple additional thoughts on the runners that Teresa touched upon. Number 3, Law Abiding, broke from the rail last time, but maybe more importantly, actually added blinkers and showed uncharacteristically good speed from start to finish at today's distance. So certainly Law Abiding is one of many contenders in this field. And Teresa talked about trainer Peter Erden, who trains number 1, Cherubic Factor. You can see, if you have the racing form in front of you, that Peter Erden does very well with runners second off the start off 180-day layoff. As a matter of fact, 36% win percentage with a relatively large sample size. This certainly is Cherubic Factor's second race off a layoff, and Frankie Dettori decides to ride back. Before we take a look at race number 2, Teresa, a question for you.
because you're here in the mornings and you're interacting with not only the horses and the people that work with you, but you also have to interact with the trainers. And you talked about Pipey and Ert and guys like that. Do you interact with them a lot, and do you kind of get a sense of terms of, maybe I'm trying to cherry pick here in terms of knowledge for handicappers, when a horse maybe works 5/8 for Pipey, you know that it's kind of a maintenance drill, but if it works 6 furlongs, you know that it's all systems go. I'm not saying that's the exact case with Mike Pipey, but do you kind of get a sense of the rhythm of the distance and maybe the time in between workouts that kind of gives you a tip off as to how well the horse might work?
Yeah, definitely.
What, give me 1 or 2 examples, like, if you would, like, in other words, like, well, Bob Baffert is obvious, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's obvious, but maybe there's another trainer, Vladimir Serin, George Papapadromo. You know, it could be any type of a caliber of horse, but do you kind of get a sense, maybe either in speaking with them or actually watching the work, that today is kind of a go day from a workout standpoint?
I do, but it's usually by watching their workouts, seeing what their goal is in the workout. If I see that they're starting 3 or 4 back, I pretty much know where they also are going to run from, and that they're setting up and they're ready to fire for that next race. There's other trainers that I know that give quite a bit of time off in between the races. They like their horses develop slowly, mostly mentally, be fit. I've learned a lot. Actually, I had a horse named Wine Me Now with Pipey. So I've learned a lot of handicapping from Pipey, because if you ever have interviewed him, and he'll handicap the whole race for you.
He knows every horse by the back of his hand. He's amazing in terms of his knowledge.
He's a great horseman. Yes,
he is. Another question for you, Teresa. Obviously, we have main track workouts, but also training track workouts. And I know watching XBTV.com, you pick up a lot of training track workouts. Are there nuances you look for maybe between the 2 tracks in terms of maybe a horse prefers one surface over the other? Just, I don't know what it is. I'm trying to kind of steer you into the answer to the question, but what's the differences between the 2 surfaces?
So when they work on the training track, and I have to say the training track has been just as busy as the main track lately. With the training track, a little different. You actually can't have a gallop out. You're not supposed to be galloping out. So we can't be going 7 for, starting. A lot of trainers like to leave the 4 and go out 5, or, leave the 5, go out 6. And there are certain trainers that I never see step on the training track at all, even though they're going to run on the turf. So mainly we do get turf workers that are going to utilize that track. It seems to be, it's not that it's a little bit kinder, but with the main track, all the first horses, sometimes 70, go out at once. And
after the break.
Yeah, after the break, but they can go all different directions. They can backtrack, come on from the side gap. all different, go to the gate. With the training track, it's straightforward.
Nonsense.
There's no nonsense. They go on straight and they all go on in a row.
And certainly Phil D'Amato loves using the training track for most of his turf runners as well. Let's take a look at race number 2. Teresa begins the 50-cent early pick 4. This race is 5.5 furlongs, but it's on the main track. It's for maiden claimers. $20,000 of the claiming tag. The morning line favorite, number 2, Vinny the Coin from the Timyak Team Barn, is 8-5 on John White's morning line. He's also a first-time gelding. We haven't seen him since November. Have you seen any works in this particular race? Or if you haven't, who do you like from a handicapping standpoint?
I have not seen any works in this race, but I'm going to go with, there was 2 I was deciding between, and I'll tell you why I'm not going to go with the 4. But I'm going with Vinny the Coin because he has a few things, and he has class relief. He was gelded. He has first-time Lasix, and he's also riding with an apprentice. Now, one thing Gary did tell me with the weight break, one thing I learned from Gary Stevens, he doesn't read too much into the weight breaks. He did explain to me, if you have 2 equal riders and there's a weight break, that's where I would consider a weight break being a benefit. But that's just what he taught me, is he doesn't see much in the weight break, but the reason I'm not going to the lemon drop shot.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, lemon drop shot is, I actually spoke with trainer Jonathan Wong this morning. He described the horse as very polite, and he'd like his friends to win before he wins. And I think that's evident as he has 9 seconds and 14 starts.
Yeah, Lemon Drop Shot is a 5-year-old maiden, like you said, who's had 14 starts and 11 seconds or thirds. Certainly a bit camera shy. He's also been the beaten favorite 4 different times as well. It's interesting you mentioned Gary Stevens as well, and I neglected to bring that up also, Teresa. I talked about your interactions with the trainers in the mornings, but of course you interact with the jockeys and the exercise riders as well. Do they kind of give you any sort of information like, wow, the track is really deep this morning, the track is really glib this morning? Like, are you able to interact with them throughout the morning, or is it more after the workouts are over?
For sure. I get to interact with everybody, which is nice. I work up near the clockers. So I'm always able to ask when I start seeing the times. I'm able to ask how the track is playing. Sometimes you can also hear how the track is playing. But my boyfriend is an exercise rider for Bob Baffert. So a lot of times he will tell me how the track is playing. That it's playing really, it's very, it's deep, or it's slow, or this is the best place to be in, or things like that.
When you said you're working, when you said you're working with the clockers and you're kind of upstairs, but you can hear how the track is playing. Describe that for us, if you would. In other words, is it the way the horse's hooves are hitting into the track? And if it's subtle, maybe it's a little bit deeper, and if it's harder, maybe it's a little bit stronger. I don't know.
Yeah, like after the track has been sealed, it's a different sound than when it's wet. It's like a little bit harder, and that's when a lot of trainers choose to do maybe some jogs or light gallops until that. And then with John Sadler, he's one that's not scared to work right after the rain. And that's when you can kind of hear the moisture in the track.
Sure. Very, very interesting. You're certainly bringing a lot of new insight to this seminar, that's for sure, Teresa. Race number 3 begins the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. As you heard Frank Miramati say during the scratches part of the seminar, mandatory payout next Saturday on Run Happy San Diego Derby Day, April 8th, mandatory payout on the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6. But today, the jackpot single ticket carrier is up to $288,000. That'll be yours if you're the only winning ticket on today's card. And we kick things off going 2 turns, 1 mile on the main track for $16,000 claimers. Non-winners of 2 races lifetime, a field of 5. Number 5, Big Sweet, who disappointed last time out of as the favorite. But first off, the claim for trainer Vladimir Sarin is the 8-5 morning line favorite. Teresa, give us your thoughts on race 3.
So with race 3, I'm actually going to go with number 3. I hope I say his name right. Nuvo.
Sounds good to me.
With Nuvo, I think the biggest thing that's not in his favor is the speed. So Jonathan Wong took the blinkers off today, hoping that he can settle in a little bit and not wear himself out. So I really like him going back to the dirt. Ramon Vasquez is one of my favorite jockeys, actually, because I feel like he never stops riding. I feel like he really gets the best out of the horse. So with those things in mind, with the jockey, with Jonathan telling me that he hopes that he can get him to settle a little bit with those blinkers off, I decided to go ahead and single him.
It's funny, Teresa, here comes Gary Stevens coming into play because you mentioned Nauvoo is the only 3-year-old in the field. Therefore, he's carrying 120 pounds. But the other runners with equal jockey ability are carrying 126 pounds. That's a big swing in weights for jockeys with equal ability. So we'll see if the only 3-year-old in the field, trained by Jonathan Wong and training up at Golden Gate exclusively, can perhaps, quote unquote, upset race number 3. Race number 4 begins the 50-cent late pick 5. We're sprinting 6 furlongs on the main track. Maiden optional claimers, fillies and mares, a field of 5 after the scratch of number 1, side by side. The morning line favorite, who finished second last time out on the bottom, is number 6, Tennessee Moon from the Doug O'Neill barn. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Teresa, we want to watch a workout for a first-time starter that you decided to show us. It's for number 2, Paid in Gold from the Mark Glatt barn. Tell us why you wanted to show this workout back from March 14th.
Well, I wanted to show this workout. There were a couple that I could have showed because they're very similar. The horse has been working in company with other unraced horses, but if you can't see the beginning of this workout, but he started 2 back and he finishes in front, and I really like the way that this horse is going easily in hand.
That's exactly right. In hand, I think, is the proper description with the exercise boy.
And those are some of the things I do look for in the workouts. In the last 2 or 3 I watched of his, he went just like this.
Fair enough. And Paid in Gold was the runner on the outside that we saw. Excuse me. Now, having seen that workout, Teresa, is Paid in Gold your top choice in race 4?
You know what? I'm actually going to go with Tennessee Moon.
Oh, you can't upset Doug O'Neill, can you?
No.
Why do you like Tennessee Moon?
I'm just going with Tennessee Moon because Tennessee Moon is coming back and running basically, again, in the same type of condition. I feel like I want to go with the experience. Maybe I think this, and with the 6-hole, it's really who breaks from the gate and gets the lead at this type of race. But Edwin Maldonado is the regular rider. Unless he's busy, he also is the exercise rider. This horse works solo. It's just very quiet, maintenance-like, and easy. But with one thing, if you look at, sometimes we look at Doug's works, they might not always be fast because he does a lot of those 2-minute licks and those just really fast gallops he puts into the horse. So I expect it to be fit and I expect it to improve.
Fair enough. Number 6, Tennessee Moon, Teresa's top pick in race number 4. Tennessee Moon, last time out, as Teresa mentioned, in the same classification, finished a good second, well clear of the third place runner. Race number 5 begins the 50-cent late pick 4, and we're traveling 1 mile and a 16th on the main track for $50,000 claimers. We've got a field of 6 in this field, and 3 of the runners exit the same race back on March 3rd, including the morning line favorite, number 3, Bold Endeavor, who's the 2-to-1 morning line favorite in this race. The other runners who exit this particular race back on March 3rd are Royal Act and Bilotti. So let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action back from March 3rd, where all 3 runners competed against each other in that race.
And they're off. Midnight Mammoth. Here comes Club Aspen on the outside, sprinting to ensure an honest tempo, and Bold Endeavor also worked upon in the early stages to stay close up in third. Order and Law is down at the rail, 4 or 5 lengths off the lead. Outside of him comes Bilotti, racing now into the 4th spot, and the trailer is Royal Act, who will do his best running later. 6 furlong pole behind them, and it's Midnight Mammoth the leader, in hand by about 3/4 of a length. Club Aspen is in second as Bold Endeavor inches up a closer third. Bilotti a headstrong fourth, moving up, taking third, looking for a little spot down on the inside of Midnight Mammoth, and he does get that position, taking second as they head past the half-mile pole. It's Bilotti, Midnight Mammoth, now 1-2. A length and a half, Club Aspen is in third. Then Bold Endeavor, 3.5 off the pace in fourth. It's another 3 back to Order and Law, who's starting to gain some momentum, 2 in front of Royal Act. They're coming toward the quarter pole, and Bilotti made that move for the lead, has it, but he's getting company in the form of Bold Endeavor, coming with a 4-wide bid on the outside of Club Aspen. Midnight Mammoth is in fourth. Order and Law and Royal Act are at the top of the stretch. Bold Endeavor on the outside. Club Aspen running a big race. Down at the rail, Bilotti is in third. It's 4 lengths back to Order and Law and Royal Act, a 16th to run. Bold Endeavor just in front. Club Aspen is a game customer. Bold Endeavor, Club Aspen. Bold Endeavor wins it from Club Aspen. Royal Act found his best stride a little too late.
Teresa, Bold Endeavor got the money back on March 3rd as the betting choice at 8-5. We also saw Bilotti make an early move on the rail down the backside, and Royal Act kind of found his best stride late. Makes for an interesting race number 5. After looking at that replay, how do you see it, and who do you like?
Well, my top choice is going to be Royal Act. After watching that race, you can see that Royal Act had a little bit of a troubled start. He bobbled just a teeny bit at the start, and then he was caught quite wide. And I think it was around the 16th pole that he really made a late charge, just a little bit too late. With Bold Endeavor, this is his first time for Tim Yakteen. And I think he ran so well last time out. I think I expect him to run well. I just think that he might have a better,
Yeah, he might bounce, and you can actually see it.
And he's coming back right after, let's see, he raced on the 23rd, so he's coming back in 10 days or 11 days.
Yeah, you can see it in the racing form too, Teresa, because you can see back on December 31st, Bold Endeavor won. Then his next start on January 15th, he came back and only ran a 69. He did it also in September going up to Fresno as well. So there are instances where Bold Endeavor does react off a good performance. And Royal Act, as you mentioned, gets Frankie Dettori in the saddle today, but kind of found his best stride late. And that race was at a mile. Today's distance is 1 mile and a 16th, which could bode well for Royal Act. You also like Bold Endeavor for second. It's not like you don't necessarily like the horse. You just think that he's a little bit vulnerable today.
Yeah.
Race number 6 is the abbreviated sprint distance now on the turf course of 5.5 furlongs in the turf course. Adjusted distance in race number 6, 5.5 furlongs in the turf course. It's for $25,000 claimers. Scratch the 8. Take note, number 7 is a first-time Gelly. Number 2, finally here from the Brian Corner barn, is the lukewarm 3-to-1 morning line favorite. Talk to us about race 6, Teresa.
So I went with number 5, Canderel, for this race.
And tell us
why. For
why.
a couple of reasons. He's taking a drop in class. It's a second time start for Pappadromo?
Third time starter.
Third time start for Pappadromo. He's taking the drop in class, and he's actually done quite well as let's come back here. He's done quite well at the distance. Hold on.
Yep, no, you're right. 2 for 5.
Yeah, 2 for 5 so I think at 6.5, he wouldn't have been my choice. At 5.5, he is my choice.
Fair enough. And you also like number 2 finally here.
Yeah.
from the Brian Coroner barn.
Yeah, with Finally Here, I thought he had some sharp drills coming in. I also, again, like him at 5.5. And that's really, I mean, I don't have a lot to say, sadly, about this race.
No, it makes sense. Finally Here,
You know?
2-back ran at the 5.5 furlong distance and finished a good second. So certainly at this class level as well. So he certainly fits. It makes a lot of sense. Your top 2 picks, both 5 and 2 in race number 6. Before we take a look at race number 7, Teresa, question for you. You told us that your boyfriend works for Bob Baffert. You told us that you focus on stakes horses, primarily those that are going to the Kentucky Derby. Have you ever been to the Kentucky Derby?
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
What's wrong? Don't you have to get over there? Or are you too busy working?
No, I'm too busy working.
Would you like to go?
No.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the Breeders' Cup? Of course, we've hosted the Breeders' Cup many times.
I've been to all the Breeders' Cup since 2010.
That's a pretty good streak.
Yeah.
So even if it's not in Southern California.
2010. Yeah, 2010. Yeah, 2010.
So you'll travel out of town, like to Keeneland or wherever it might be.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You enjoy it?
I worked all of the Breeders' Cup except for one.
I see. And workouts primarily, or other things in TV production?
It's more stuff in TV production. I was getting to do, and even for XBTV, some sound. So we get to go to the trainers' barns and get sound.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's take a look at race number 7. Begins the popular $1 Golden Hour Pick 4, if you're not familiar with that wager. Last 2 races here at San Anita, with the last 2 races at our sister track up north, Golden Gate. And we kick things off here in race number 7, going 1 mile on the main track for fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 2 other than. Scratch the 5, Tis a Macho Girl, leaves us with a field of 5. Morning line favorite number 2, Adair Maynor from the Bob Baffert barn. 6-5 on the morning line. Has your boyfriend been on the back of Adair Maynor at all up to this point that you know of, Teresa?
Not recently, because he's been gone.
I see.
But he also, Adair Manor is like a rocking horse. She's just very easy to ride. So anyone in the barn can really ride her.
Yep.
So,
and Juan Hernandez will get the riding honors today on the Baffert, one of 2 Baffert runners in the field. We do want to show the workout, though, for the Calbred in this race, Teresa. It's number 4, Big Switch, 3rd off the layoff. What'd you see in this workout back on March 27th?
What I like, so she threw in a really good workout before this, but what I liked about this, and you can't see the beginning of the workout, but she was like a rocket ship in the beginning of the workout, and I really liked the way he was able to get her to settle. And you see another horse, it's really hard to compare when a 3 furlong horse comes in. It's going to flatter maybe that 3 furlong horse. But she gallops out strong, and the rider keeps asking her to gallop past the wire. And I see her, I like the way she responds, and I like the way she actually came out of this work. And I've been able to visually watch, I think, her last 4 works. And I think she just feels like she's getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
And it sure looks like the exercise boy hasn't missed a meal lately. He looks like one of the bigger exercise riders we have. But she's 4 for 7 big switches in her career, so she certainly knows where the finish line is. As we look at your picks, you do like Big Switch on top, and you like Adair Maynor second. Do you gamble much at all, Teresa? I mean, I know you're working. There's probably not a betting machine in the production truck that I could imagine. But do you ever get involved with the betting windows?
I used to bet a lot more. But I'm one as soon as I hit a big, then I quit for a while.
And would you bet on the runners that you owned?
Yes. Because my trainers, the trainers I've chosen, have been very honest with me about their chances.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What's the biggest amount of money you ever won? Don't worry, the statute of limitations have run out.
It was actually in a superfecta at Gulfstream Park, 29,000.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I did use 6 horses.
That's okay.
But I just
didn't cost you $29,000.
Yeah, and in the case when I do use 6 horses is where I really feel like a price is going to come in. Like there's a lot of vulnerability there.
Using handicapper language, did you key or box the superfecta? In other words, did you box? You keyed. So you either keyed in first or second, and then use the others underneath.
Yeah.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. Maybe you should play. Maybe you should play more often.
Yeah, I don't do many win bets, but that's one of my favorite bets to play.
Fair enough. Okay, well, now we know. Race number 8 closes out today's card. Keep in mind, live racing, of course, resumes tomorrow on Saturday. We've got a 9-race card that begins at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. But first things first, race number 8, we're on the turf course. 1 mile's the distance. And, of course, race 8 begins the popular $5 Golden Hour Daily Double. Similar concept. Last race here with the last race at Golden Gate. This race is for Calbred, 3-year-old fillies, allowance optional claiming types. Scratch the 5, Loyal to a Fault, leaves us with a field of 7. Number 3, Carol Lombard, who runs equally well on dirt and turf, is the 5-2 morning line favorite. Here's your man, Ramon Vasquez again. Give us your thoughts on the nightcap.
I think she's a single, actually, for me, and deservedly to be the favorite. She's moving in the right direction. She's she's been in the money 3 of her 4 starts. She beat a horse that Doug O'Neill highly regards in Niven. And so I don't really see anyone else on this page jumping up to beat her.
But you do give a little love to Golden again on the rail.
I do. A couple things. The trainer jockey combination is very hot. If you toss out his last race, his numbers do figure in here. So
3-1 to close it out on a very good Friday card here at the Great Race Place. Teresa, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you, learning a little bit more about your job, all the hard work you put into it, so that us as handicappers can basically enjoy the fruits of your labor. So keep up the great work. Maybe get involved in a few more superfectas so you can cash a $29,000 ticket, particularly today since you did the work. But thanks so much for your time and insight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks to you as well. Thanks to all of you for watching as well. Want to wish you nothing but the best of luck on today's card. Next voice you hear will be track announcer Frank Miramati updating us with any late program changes. Have fun, everybody, and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem.